No, the Madame de la Chache, Bandit, Lage Joro Bendi, Gondis, Kuzondo Jim, good morning, everyone. Today topic is very interesting. Interesting. Interesting topic. Yeah, 当做是吧？随便你们来了吧。做，等到而且让子忙不起，都南边给去，感觉的家庭不休息，开始什么课了，那忙不休息一下，是当不了吧？当然的，每次可能的路上去，都个马来是当然去都个马来是，开始的程度的，那边去的，就是推出有年纪那你学不起来有点儿，那推出没年纪个，那起来有点儿是吧？然后路边现在头几个年龄些有点儿。然后是那种给这口个皮了，买来就的这个，切一点就，他做对用呢，长久个心思就是吧，就宁不，他得图个了吧，得准备去送个日记的长久个心，买叫去他是那里就是吧，长久心的就，那日记的，他长久心可能我看来，他提前了，他长久个心的，慢点把去他当呢，这个拉着。어디 두저기 냠네 시기요 따뜻한 먼저 수배 냠는데 전주승 랍자 전주가 셈디 셈상보데 마냠바 집에 타 어디 시기요 레스로다
Today's, can everyone hear? Yeah. Today's topic is the practice of forbearance or patience. Essentially, a lot of you are aware that the subject of Buddha Dharma is very vast. Some of you know that. And in the context of this life, some of you have the opportunity to study in that manner and some do not. And in terms of Dharma, some of you think that if you have time, you can do it. But it is the case that if you have time, you can practice it. And even if you don't have time, you can still practice. And once, if one does practice, there is the potential to get to a very high level of realization and insight. But even if you don't have, or you think you don't have the time and opportunity, there are opportunities. What then is the essence of the Buddha Dharma? The essence is the bodhicitta, the kind heart, the altruistic thought. And Shakyamuni Buddha was concerned with cultivating an awakening thought, firstly producing it, then making sure it's cultivated, and thirdly, making sure it doesn't degenerate. So how do we make sure that this thought of kind heart, altruism, does not degenerate? And that's what this is concerned with, the advice around that, the advice around bodhicitta.
제가 나한테 인지 정보로 아니 내가 인지 지라 아 그래 티카시스도 알아 패션체 tolerance라 아니 그래 그냥 매디
forbearance also.
매디 favorite이야 들어
Krishna likes tolerance, I like forbearance.
단도 tik신다 얘기래로
There's probably other words, right, for patience.
제가 the passion 라에다 tolerance 라에다 저기 한다 가서 저랑 직접 해주시거든.
Forbearance.
forbearance 라에다 전달로 tun지로 정말 시험도 컨디션을 하면서 patience에다 tolerance에다 그냥 뭐 인지틱디 이게 표현을 수심을 수 촬영도 먼저 남괴치 그 서버스에디 제가로 좀 자산 리그 메우서
Yeah. So if I think of the English words, patience, tolerance, forbearance, and then I look at the Dharma word, sopa, maybe the English translations reach 50% of it.
가르쳐나 예로 그자 서버사데 낭배 추억이 냠내 지난 그 취직지라 다 망고지 크리스천 추억의 민직의 주 표제셔라 라도다 아니 취직다 닝바든데 레도 알아 아주도 치도 간에 주의는 거 세워하 먹어 돼 간다 낭배 추억이 누저라 싸우러 하고 직 민직이 요마라 알아 아니 그 뭐마게 직 표제셔야 되는데 패션스야로 톨러런스야로 어디든지 표제셔야 되는데 단다디 망고지 라도가 있었어.
Yeah.
라도가 있었어.
And the reason being that, when we hear these words, this is in a connotation of kind of Western culture, patience, tolerance, forbearance, but actually from the perspective of Buddha Dharma, patience or forbearance is an experiential thing. So we might understand patience and tolerance to be from the perspective of Christian use, and then it can have a cultural meaning. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, perhaps the Buddha Dharma interpretation, there's a little bit extra there.
배나 먼저 쇠바시로 와. 베베직라 쇠바시로. 아 저는 딩 옛날 리고를 쇠바. 야고요. 내가 지금 사와지도 민징 사와지. 라야.
So that word in Tibetan, Serpa, it's good to hear that and you learnt a new word.
다 쇠발라게 전다에도 가려고 그래요. 와. 전다에 가려고 그러려는데. 당저 말아서 내다 야고로지. 내다 지남시 지오지 그때 삼로 단단하게 야고로치 네 수고 되어로지 기우도 알아 하데 텐데질 기우라 왔다 단단 알아서 나가서 기우라데 텐데르질라다 네스 되어로지 와 셈바데 밥해보로지 나오라다 텐데르지다 셈바 시워로지 열어다 지다 정말 열어다 간다로지 내가 야고로지 왜 내가들 열어라
So the meaning then of this word is, we might take it to mean that if the weather is good, if the body is going okay, if there are good conditions, then mentally we're peaceful.
내단 근데 지금 흘러지 여기 가둘라 안에 미신다 수술라 직도 잘 나와도 슈거도 양수수 잘라 구마 쇼도 아니 내주 예연도 아직 독자로 근데 중화로 쟁거 거자로 중화 네 아직 총게 내단 근데 나 근데라 강이 태우로 근데 제도 강해지 근데지 강해지 지 수술라 뇌베 직직 레용도 아니 심프용도 알아 단 강해지 주변 내가 수술심데 머투고제 대비 what deal service
Yeah, so what we really mean by Serpa is that if you're in a relaxed state, or someone abuses you with speech, or strikes you, steals from you, and then in the context of our life, those that we relate to give us a hard time, or your business goes through difficulties. So there is that notion of difficulty coming from outside. And under that context, you get upset. So what we mean here by Zerpa or patience is for the mind to remain unperturbed, for the mind to not be upset.
아니 동해인데 중리로 봐.
Yeah.
동해 당내서 와서로 봐.
Yeah.
동해 용거로 봐. 동해 용거래다. 와 상상 류르네 나자 용거래. 상상라 아니 심고 동해 용거래. 다 근데 동해인데 요면에 상상을 쓰서 방어 빈자든데 대외 동해 용거래. 근데 동해 되게 수수게 심 맞추고제 대토바들라 서버스.
Yes. And then there's the patience of accepting difficulties in this life, the patience of enduring suffering in this life. We get sick physically, our minds go through problems, we have to separate from loved ones. There is that difficulty. So being able to bear that, being unperturbed around that.
아니 처치도 철릉에서 처치도 그 냠내셔 갈래도 곰접도 빼문나기도 알아. 빼문나기도 개반나기도 아니 상상라 카군고도 미국 강고도 아니 가지니 데모도 이제 패닉도 차로도 알아. 딜라 디스지 니 데토가들 처치도 갈래요래 진짜요 갈래요래 암전이래 갈래요래다 처 직망고지 싸워서 디 하마고 이제 강래요래 아니 딜라야 되게 셈마투 것이지냐 당연히 대도 서버스 제가 뇌제체 아니 직동해체 최시
somewhere,
컨데지기 배지 심 투베 게임도 마투고제 데이터비 내가 텐데지라 아니 서버스 쳇다 다 패션 다다 되게 되면도 다다 되게 전환적 그 패션을 되 컨데지를 표시치고래 톨러런스 되 컨데지를 내가 컨데지를 표시치고래 진짜 낭배추 그 서버라야 돼 하장 띵사보다 야셔보다 배차셔나 다 서버라야 돼 리나시지고다 로
Mm. So then there is the patience of accepting difficulties in one's Dharma practice. Practicing Dharma, not easy. You get sore knees or a sore back when you try and meditate, maybe a dry mouth. Some people even panic. And also you have to be patient around the fact that you're hearing all sorts of new words. And, these are conditions which upset the mind. So then we have to look at these three different types of patience or forbearance. The patience of not taking revenge if you're harmed, first one. The second one, the patience of enduring suffering we experience in life. And then the patience of accepting difficulties in our Dharma practice. So, that's really what is meant by Pa, able to remain unperturbed in the face of these external conditions. Can we relate the English understandings of patience and tolerance in that regard? If we look at it from the perspective of Buddha Dharma, patience is a very deep, profound, and vast subject. In fact, one's mind remains like a mountain.
진짜 때 말하는 데인데 뒤중 컨트롤 망고지 규진 대달 내용 거로 봐. 산산라 규진 상 컨트롤에 규진 상마다 뭐 지나다 규진 망고 조다 나제 숙체 차는 거래. 근데 산산라 미신다게 수수 슈와 투즈 땅아. 아니 가시 산산라 수수다 미신다 고사든데 제대로 컨트롤 사용 거다로.
Yeah.
아니 그 갈소 그래. 깔레 가두 콘도 사기도아 아래 원래 가두 콘도 사기도아 상상라 최대 야고만 되어 가시 콘도 사 툭툭도 로야
Yeah.
제가 다 내라니 다 서버디다 콘도게 다 년보에 연하면아지 차되고 여러
Yeah. So now, the causes around anger are many. There are a lot of sources or causes for anger, and a lot of causes and conditions, like, pride. We get proud. We don't like it if we're struck. And then some people get irritated if others gossip about them. These are the conditions for anger to slowly come. Some people get angry when they're tired, and that's a condition for anger to come. Some people get irritated and angry because they can't bear even the Dharma. So really, this thing we call Serpa, or tolerance, this is also an antidote to anger.
다 뒤중 안에서 이제 러로야 다스 칠로 내버진이데 먼저 달라그러로
Yeah.
알았다 다들 도자 쉬도 다들 등에 다 인스타뱅아 마가시 두슈디 인스타 인스타 치기 다들 쉬우지 찍으러 가는 다 문에서는 미드도 상어 문에서는 미다 튼도도 좀 맞을라 다차고요 말이야 로 미드즈 먼저는 문에서는 거딘심을 쉬우차고 알아 먼저 미드즈 다 미게 내 튼제인데 먼저 내가 다 타두고 디기 참제 미신달에 되네 두고다로 삼려야고다는 만나서 디기라야지 내가 디기나래 타두고 디기나래 내가 베지 저거도스 나는 칼라사야 돼다디 칼라사야 돼 내가 뭔가 쉬어져래다 니 맨날 녀도 쉬어지 매우 차르다
we tend to think also this notion of enemy or foe, that they are outside you, and you tend to label, oh, they are my enemies. But actually, in reality, when you think about humans and animals, they are not your enemies at all. They're very kind. Why? humans are kind to you both in a temporal and ultimate sense. You know, because we depend on humans for our very sustenance and survival. Think about it, just on a temporal level, if we want to eat, if we're hungry, we need others.
그래서 당당 주 세래야 강게 세 삼베세 띵이징 세라인데 요래 당당 배슈네신으로
Yeah.
아니 띵이징 삼바템보 샤 띵이징 도무창나 아니 세마세요 대고 같은데 띵자 요래다 미 니마니 있음인데 곰 코란 잡제 코란다 니마니 있음 대로 이나 다 대르 곰 잡에 내가 들라 그럼 나와도 가래. 주도 제가 지금 나와요 말아. 아니 주도 제가 나 저거다요 말아. 그래서 띵이징 셀라디 유나 아니 먼저 쇼핑 저거다. 라. 쇼핑 저거면은 배샤 쇼지 소가 캠다야. 다 둘로 거야로 지고는 뭐지. 예, 다 칼라사디 먼저 다 내가 망부 찍다.
So, you know, that we are dependent on others for a place to stay, for food to sustain us. And then we can get, until we get stable concentration, you know, that we can sustain ourselves through the samadhi of meditation. So the person that meditates 2 or 3 days, you know, in the constraints of like half an hour is not hungry. But if you can sustain yourself through meditation, you don't need money, you don't need to go shopping, you don't need food. That's another case.
No need vegetable garden. No need grocery. No need cook. No need dishwasher. Sounds good, isn't it? 아유, 제가 다 두서 칼라자거든, 레 칼라레. 미 먼저 되게다 미신다 미래야 다 너버제니 데 마가버시티 되게로 다 은혜 그 소설라 동행원에서 녀데 가래서나 아니 나게 셈게 다 셈축되어 셈마시와데 제스 거다 덤바게 다데 치기 미디게 마르샤스 소설 나게 셈충요 드레샤스 다셈 셈데 투베 나네 다 독쇼데 컨트롤 토아드레샤스로
Yeah.
토아드레샤스 다 토아드 좀 고도세 대승구였다.
Right. So, you know, often we point to or think that which harms us is outside and we suffer as a result. But really, the real enemy is the fact that your mind got upset, that your mind got perturbed. In fact, Shakyamuni Buddha said that the enemy is not outside. It is your inner lack of stable mind that gets upset. And of those types of anger, the worst one is when you get wrathful, when you get really angry, and that is what is to be vanquished.
제가 단다 준주나라 책지어래와 데 책디 저런서 신나야 오요래 데 책디 신 아니 삼나다나야 오요래 초에 단다 초에 심리 직조는 다들 탐제 좀 단다서와 초 수수 초 콘도사야게 초지 리그도 안 하는 성 리기로다 어디 좀 더위나 아니 다 탐제 베데 다 결혼 뒤중은 다다사 다 상마 매우서 버지 버레스 베나 아니 사딩 탐제 거여디 디니 거에 가는 나라로 사다 내절래야 테마 캡데요나 아니 데 탐제 꼬하게 값 두고 말아봤어 봐. 농고 그런 값 두고 말아봤어. 아니 꼴 헬레 춘주지 한디 탐지 거베 니스로 아니 수수 꼴 춘주지 수수라 아니 한국 수제 도이나 아니 사딩 탐제 꼴고 욕 받다시 차대요 그래서 한디 탐지 거베 니 디니 탐제 요단다서도 제가 꼴 춘주지 가서다 한국 수제 니 제마지로나 수고 말아 아니 사탐제 요바도 지금 베데 닝제 우쇼래로 베데 강에만에 베데 나와쇼도 왜디 베데나네 과다스는 랍젤레야 망고도 되나네로 찍디래.
One thing, there's a beautiful piece of advice coming from Shantideva, and we can understand it on different levels. This is from the text, engaging in the deeds of the Bodhisattva. The first verse is that, if you vanquish anger inside, then you vanquished all external enemies. And the second verse is that you could never possibly cover the entirety of the earth with leather so that you don't prick your feet with pebbles and thorns. Yeah, but you could cover the soles of your feet to protect you from that. So like that, you couldn't possibly subdue all the enemies, but your inner mind you can.
그래서 콘도 나온 게 수수 콘도 좀나 아니 다탐제 좀 버려서 이제 코드와라.
Yeah, what it's really saying is that once you conquer the inner enemy anchor, then all of the external enemies disappear. They are no more.
다야디 단대게 랍제디 과지 칼레야라나 데제 코용도 다 미스스 코단다만들어 봐. 다 낭베 최의 책들라 수수 소남다. 수수 시제게 관련 담은데 요래로. 얘네 이런 간내내네 요래. 나디 나엔데로지 코용 거래. 다 네 디게 칼링 거라서나 다 룽바 탐제 체마가 캡데나 과 갑투 마레라라. 수수 강바디 과도나 수술레 체마 수고 마레라라. 디가서나 먼저 가란데 예윤라다 미망고 요래로. 아니 토고 토모 반나 보고 파마다 된데 망고 요래. 다 두즈게 먼저 그 견제요가 남산 통그래 먼저 미 견데 남산 통그래로. 아 견 통보다가라 견데는 통인데 당도 배견 두자던데나 아니 기우요 말 스스로와 스스 기우 매우 인상 한다 배적이 견데 기우 당도 없다. 와 바저 기우 당을 배전식으로 뭐지. 와 다 도마점데 되게 대견데 통그래 바로 좀 단대 빼대. 바로 견 기우 당을 그런 배전 맛이 수수견으로 봐. 수수 쌤게 아니 견데 제데 매우 쓰여서 수수 강벌라 한국 공스로 수수 강벌 한국 공스 미 탐제를 강바 한국 요 두고 말했어 선물링 미 탐제를 장해서 한국 때 두고 말아 서울 빌린 한국 수수스래 그래서 미신이 견 통하다가 데일 두두제 디 교단을 배제 마시 수수게 견을 상담하지 수수 교단다 수수 교단도나 아니 미신을 팬다고 미 교단도 수수 교단마도나 미신 교단도 말했지 랍제지 디 쿠도 하다 디 빼야고도 디 개심부래 빼 개심부래 해야 돼.
So these stanzas or slokas of advice in the context of Buddha Dharma, people can interpret them in different ways. I have my personal reflection, I think, on these verses. I think the one about not being able to cover the whole country with leather, I think is like that. When you interact with people around you, your loved ones, your partners, your relatives, immediately it's so easy for us to see the faults in them, isn't it? And once we see the faults in them, we get upset and we try to change them. You want to change them. Shakyamuni Buddha said, yes, you will see faults in others, but instead of trying to change them first, try to change your own mind, try to change your own faults. Then you'll be in a position to help others. So first you try to transform your mind by working with your own delusions. And then, because analogous to the fact that you couldn't possibly produce 7 billion pairs of shoes, could you? For all the beings in the world, you couldn't do that. But if you change your own mind and you work with your own delusions, transform them, then you're in a position to help others change their mind.
Yeah,
these are the advices and these are the things we have to put into practice, put effort in.
이거로 체제 신다디 교연디 교보단 배전체 아니 됐다 동거 답제되네
There's a lot of falling out, a lot of lack of love between parents and kids, and then between partners, between friends. And if the egos become big or thickened, then that's a cause for that to happen.
아, 미신다라 쌤 주어다라 배전 지금에 아니고요 말아.
Yeah.
셰셰들 요라고.
I don't try and change others' minds. I don't have that potency. But I do have something to say. I share.
예, 저런데 쌤 주어단도 말해. 나랑 쌤 주어단마도는 전 주어선단도 말해.
I could not possibly change you guys' minds because if I can't even change my own, what chance have I got?
다 가르쳐 버려서는 어느서 봐도 저것도는 이 탑람 딘데 제도 딘데 요에 도스 덤베게 딘데 루가 렌제니로 오시. 당에 로브존데 제메는 저런들로 나 작바 차례서 나 작바 렌제니 작바 이게니 postman.
Okay. So then, as friends, what we can do is share this method, share this path. And because I have experience studying the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, I'm like your postman.
First, I'll give you. You need to open. But I give you pasta, but you leave under the
door. You don't know.
Nothing wrong, man. Job. 아유, 세상 다오래다 되네. 야, 세상 는 하고디 너도 컨트롤해야지 여러와. 컨트롤해야지. 단다 덤박이야. 빼지자. 빼도서야 워 상선으로. 빼도서 빼야 워. 컨트롤스니 돼 가르치 그래서 나가서 미지기 라고나라. 메시냐 돼 너서와.
Yeah.
메데 당고 미 먼저 파 밀라 육제 미파주고 미다 치리단 배전식 그래서 미 파르고 마치고라 라고나냐다 당고 수수치 그래서
Yeah.
빼대하고 싶다. 예. 수수로 컨트롤 수수세 마지우서 그러 어디래 메데가 당고 수수 라고치 그러 먼저 메데 파 밀라 육고 튕그래 컨트롤스니 되고 컨트롤 사이언지 파르볼라지 딜레기어레스 마지우서야서는 제당 소 레유데 빼대하고 싶어래. 아니 메데 파 마유고는 수수 라고치 그래서 컨트롤게 당고 수수 생기 시바데 메우서 그래서 빼도서 닝제보다 알아.
And to illustrate the demerits of anger, Shakyamuni Buddha gave a wonderful example. You have fire in your hand and you want to try and hurl it at someone so that they burn. But the very fact that you have fire in your hand means that you burn first. You're burning up first. So you have that hatred, you have that anger, and it's affecting you first. It's a good example.
세상다 컨트롤이 님이 서버금디 컨트롤 님이 상다 컨트롤단 서버 님도 그래.
Yeah. So really, to think of the demerits of anger is very important because what kind of goes hand in hand is anger on the one hand and being patient on the latter, or forbearing.
아니 컨트롤 사나 컨트롤 사고체도 아니 미디 제단 동반인제오에는 저 통이 좋음다라. 통이 좋음다.
And the other demerit is that, you know, if the person is quick to anger or an angry person, even if they're beautiful looking, you don't want to look at them.
미 서버 배 코바셔버 서버 첨보에는 미디 돈데 닝지 오면에 양서 미디를 가기도 알아. 거기 스웨기 스웨 편여를 다 들어.
Conversely, someone is not so good looking, but they're very patient, you know, very forbearing, and then you want to look at them.
제가 서버디 대야고요라 그런 상물로 야고 고고요라와 닝제고 고고래 제보 고고요래 그래서 아니 알레다 껴와 치면은 세들레 고고라 그런 상물로 딜 미스니 딜 가보러 왔대요 참보라와 서버 공부이나 원에게 나한게 지독된 말이 용거라 인지는 inner beauty 용거라 스웨냠는 되는 용거라 근데 야고요는 다 점제 가셔라 난다 가셔야 된다 디 니마르와 동니마 링고 링 좋아 니마 서바야 보고는 동니마 용도래 아니 야고다 또 산다
So we want to look attractive, we want to look beautiful, and let alone thinking of the results of patience that will mature in future lives. In this life, we want to look good, because we desire beauty. So I often say, it's really like inner beauty, isn't it? Patience gives you this inner beauty, and I often joke that if you cultivate inner beauty, you don't need to spend so much on makeup and so forth to stop the wrinkles.
It was not that much.
Yeah, you save so much money.
Nothing costs money. Otherwise, if you go to what's that, the beautician, how much it costs?
Cosmetician.
How much it costs? You know? 그래서 저번에 오늘 다서 오늘 학원도 딜라고도 하다. 저번 이 여배이나 아니 소소게 내가 지야나. 다지 가리네 늘람디 치어와 도보다 네 대화 미담이 대화디. 저번에나 그 내주 찍니지 강에 태워다는 유시하고 말아봐.
Yeah, endurance.
뒤에 저번에나 내주 찍잖아 대 카드 내주니드나 대 카드.
Okay.
나 간사질라 도보 미담 도보 매우 차로고다. 도보 매우 차로고다. 내가 다 그러봐. 내가 강에 찍대도 돼요. 내가 강에 찍대도 돼요. 스베는 그 내가 때 미팅에서 그래 그 지난 시에네. 저러서 내가 가져 마음 제가 뒤저기 냠뇽chen 렐 하여로. 내가 찍을 강에 태워다 돼요. 신다지. 내가 찍 강인데 아니 빼면서 등산 내가 태우는데 강에도 가러. 제가 대나시 다 저거 좀 뒤에래 렐라요 말아라. 저거 좀 뒤에도 렐라요이나야. 등산다 근데 소셜 미디어나 근데 체야도 렐라요 인기래로.
Yeah.
무슨 야 집도 주도직님도 시글에 갈래 가보다. 그래서 저번 연나 편도 좀 쉬어라.
Yeah, the benefits of patience are that, you have this endurance and you're able to get a job and kind of connect with others. And if things are going difficult once or twice in the job or the relationship, you don't easily give up. You stay through. If not, there's sometimes the case that, oh, my job's really difficult, and I'll leave that job because I can't handle the difficulties. And then that happens a second and a third time, and you keep leaving. And this can happen in relationships as well, that you easily give up. But the point is, if you cultivate a tolerance, then you stay at the work, because you know that once the mind gets habituated with any activity, it gets easier as you go. And we would also say that these days, in terms of employment, it's not easy to get work and so forth. And also in terms of relationships, we can tend to meet people easily on social media, but once you meet them, you might only be able to stay with them 1 or 2 hours.
1 or 2 hours, okay, bye-bye. When I was young, I started with this philosophy. It's not easy subject. We learn lots of this philosophy, psychology, right?
Right.
Physics. That is not namde ni do subject right?
Yeah, we studied these 5 excuse me, major treatises, texts, and then within that there's valid cognition, how things are perceived. Then there's cosmobiology, the universe and so forth.
The subject and
each of those 5 texts, they had a root text, but they also had a commentary on it. So we had to know those.
And I think 3 years, I had a lot of challenge, and sometimes I thought maybe I want to give up. I think I maybe chose 1 subject, maybe 5 subjects looks too much. But and then I had 1 teacher, and he encouraged me, you are just under the mountain, you need to go on the top of the mountain, between there laws hard up, and sometimes there's storming coming, sometimes flooding coming. You don't give up, just you have part there. He gave me this example. And then lots challenge, lots challenge, and not easy to live in monastery, right? Facilities very poor, right? And food is not good, and not enough food. Lost and hungry. And facility in the house, we have a very funny story, I had one time they ran. Zamal hello, Zamal.
It's like a clay
Oh,
house, clay tiles,
Later. And then lots of birds, birds. They in South India, they're black birds. They're eating bones, They drop the bone in the rock and they're making a hole, And one time they ran and lots of water coming and in dropping, And we put some cups, some bucket, And then looks just listening music, ding ding dong. Some drop on the blanket top, sometimes the ding ding top, ding ding dong. We just listening music, Looks like, and we no idea, and then there are lots of holes, and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 20 holes, and we collect money. We are some monks. We don't have enough money. We collect money, some 2 rupees, 3 rupees, and we bought some 20 clips. And then my friend went at the top changing. He no idea, and he legs coming out. So we don't have experience, And we want to fix the 20 club. He broke in 50. Big horse there. Mr. Please come down. So funny. And then my house teacher come, what are you doing? We want to fix it. We're making more damage there. And he said, no, we can't do that. We need some Indian special person. And we asked him some. Then he bought a 80 or 100 clubs body, teacher body, And then he looks monkey go on the top, nothing working. This Indian man, he fixes it 2 hours fixing, This is a funny story. Yeah. And then in the rice, most monastery, there's a rice. Indian government support the government the rice. And the rice is not good quality, and with a lot of stone, lots of stone. And then dal, put in dal on the rice. And all dals go sing in the rice. On the top, the tomato skin and onion, just this all. But taste was so yummy. 그래서 튕긴도 좋으래로 이나에다 로니 휴자라지 깔래자 아니 딱 럽정한테 차 사들이야 뭐 저서 매진나라 지금 딱 저런저래 편으로 토도 하는 대로 내가 그게 뭐고 그게 무슨 가리 그게 배미시 그게 오늘 나저 피리 제대로 말아 모노스루 에듀케이션 상호 피리냐냐로 근데 저 배미시 가서 그래 그래서 파만한시 자와치니 그게 배미시 다 저저 가리를 해서 봐.
So then poor conditions in the monastery for 20 years, effort into study, then maybe some benefit in this life, one's life, and able to share that. But I look back and I think the teachers were so kind. There was nothing charged for that education. And the teachers looked after us like parents, that kind.
근데 다 수배님네 꼬매야들라 먼저 제공 치고 오래로
Yeah.
제공
So if we're really going to meditate on tolerance, forbearance, we have to do it in a reflective way, analytical meditation.
지난 단다 준주의 책도도 신야래 아니 배도도 상당하래 아니 경쟁하고 상당다 아니 서고야 심들이 그러면지 아 저양지 심세직 버러지 공제 서버 연구 말했어
So one has to reflect on such as the verses we went through, the examples and reasons. Only upon doing that will the cultivation of tolerance come. You're not going to get it just by doing single-pointed concentration. That cannot be.
뭐야 당저 님도라 님아지기 공 님도라 공 님도 자고 서버
So now let's meditate together now in the context of doing like a daily practice, meditation.
다 당봉 저 꿀롱 공 자고 그래라
First, we set the intention.
아 꿀롱데 아니 드리네 제베네 르마 이숨지고네다 이지 자와 간체버 펜도에 가지로 봐 수수 이행기 미래 하네 레글레사레 그절라다 저런저 국업 열에 펜도시야 국업 자자 자요를 믿은 저에 인자 아니 펜도에 버치기 있다 펜 마토베 이나이나 수수라 가워치니 들들 심데메 버치 그절라 강에메 버치니 소긴
Yeah.
다디 계셔버려도
So now think that today one's actions, body, speech, and mind, physical, verbal, and mental, do one's best to help others that are around you. And that could be in your job, family, whatever. 100% you have the opportunity to do so because we have to connect with each other. And if you can't help them, do not make difficulties for them and upset them, at least that.
나 믹숨 이제 상당
Close the eyes gently to reflect.
당고 곰 당고 자니를 저런 거 삼로랑서 거 말데 수수수를 깨져 세우나 이제 단다 택시도 네 말랍제 타숨데 줄랍제 드링게 르마 유성기 자와디 신라 펜도에 치기 다 펜마다는 수수 자와이 가오에 니들 네 심데메 바직 소위 어두 깨져 세비나 아니 심나라 데야라 펜도 베치모
So then, doing this meditation, if this is new for you, then, you can repeat it quietly to your own mind because then it stabilizes in your mind that today one will do one's best to help those that are around one with body, speech, and mind. And if you can't help, at least do not harm.
나데 신뱅이 심데 이 수수기 디 방법이 기딜라와 닝기 딜라네 왜가고 왜가고 시 인티안다 베 야수술래 아직 랍자냐니 소시 계지신이 소시 되게 아직 수수 셈게 지 도가디 예상과 비자기 비자니 심 포지티브로 여든죠 그런 여든죠 근데지 왜그런시 왜가고란시 근데지 예 텐제 대셔서
Now think that kind heart of altruism is at the level of your heart and the nature of white light. That's its entity. Its entity is kindness. And advise yourself that just remain in that positive mind, having vanquished all negative states of mind.
근데 가고 다 된대게 심 신비치니 심 뉴가 첨부시 다 들인 류닝 봐 심사와 그냥 심 뉴가 첨부지 신변시에 로도 첨부인데 뉴가 첨부지 유ten 아니 가고 그래서
Now rejoice that you have that warm heart, that beneficial intention. It's very potent. In this old body, one has generated a fresh sense of concern for others with courage. Rejoice in that.
뭐야다 아니 저 개버스 정보대로 데믹 좀 난디그래 그래서 국가간 대녀도 개버 정보대 된다데 사대간 대녀도 개버스 정보대 봉바대 파데 비자 잡이나 아니 대제 시상상으로 차그래로 하대 아니 계직대 정보 차용으로 계직대 정보대나 아니 자동나 롱종나 셈통 아니 셈탕마라고 차용으로 그래서 수구대단데 공자도 수구대단데 배 개심으로 수구대단데 야고에나 공주를 뭐 가져 잡나 배 아니 갈래 가면 요 차로 먼저 단도 미망보지 공자에서 이제 갈래 그거다 저는데 수구대단데 따다시 되게요 말에 망보지 그다음 다가나라 대 저는 수구대 네 정보 개지시 깨버 정보 계직 정보대 개좀 쉬어래서
Mhm. So now it's important that we can still gently close the eyes, but one's posture should be straight, spine straight, even if you're sitting on a seat or if you're sitting on the ground, and also your shoulders should be a little bit open, because if the shoulders are relaxed and open, then the nerves can flow. And if the nerves are open, then the wind within the nerves can flow freely. And as a result of that, you have mental clarity. So when we meditate, the posture is very important because a lot of people force it and they get tired because they're trying to meditate with an incorrect posture. So check your posture.
근데 너군이네 국진 당로
Mm-hmm.
근데 수분하나 저 룩uk스레인데 수부직 남대회 소래 직다 룰 내나서 담으려요 드즈르도 파시로야 아니 심라다 그래서 스타 망고지다 곰데 심다다 심긴 내줘야게 탐나니 쳤기로와 심라진 암다다 토바다데 마지바데 요나다서 파 단대내걸로 파시제 오늘에는 단다 심데 단다 거나 대투는 거줄 강요마 이나 거줄 단다 심데 단다가 대투 매인자 선이직인데 스트레스 anxiety depression 되는 거고 세상 뒤인데 아니 텐데네가블라 딘데 상모파 시송 ten야 국수 당인데 아니 파 당도데 딘데게지 마지베지 직담데베서 세명암다 도고 마지베도서 파 텐송 텐제 어두시제 니 우중 곰데스 잡샤스라
Spend a few moments now being aware of breath, long inhalations and exhalations. And when you breathe in, first check physically your body, if there is any tightness in your body or physical sickness, that becomes pacified by the breath. But more importantly, any mental worries you have, discursive thoughts, any state of the mind being ill at ease. In reality, because we are here in the moment, we have no worries. But that's the problem, isn't it? We can't stay in the present moment. So we get stressed and anxious. So on the in-breath, new potency. On the out-breath, the physical constraints and the mental worries are pacified. Think like that.
거디나 거디 더 버잡실려나.
Yeah, sometimes the mobile upset, then intercoms and never switch off.
근데 다 욱추 태운데 당소 내들라 진럽세 자자자요 봐. 당소 디나라 베 겨울음지 페요레 라마서 페요 잡신되는 뭐지 페요레 잡신되는 뭐지 당소 댄서송 다 신의 토가 렌치거래 신의 토에 따 요래 봐. 무시 요래 당시 싱글 근데게 라마 자신 못인데 페 송주 나요래 진럽 나요 아니 아과된 건데 최네도 아 먹을러 최시 최먹고 싶지다 셰되게 되기네 최시에도 그 틱도 다르와 뭐 다데 되게요 모던 산데스 다글랍균디다 베 tuzu mangboji ki dala bin tanda dede yuwa kuzu ngolen chi kado wa be ya godo wa ta de ngozo nangbe chö di tingdu ki tseri dang be de chashi tunjo mangbodo wa go gyumzen dan tenpa sonza ngoyo nezu dan tumba sonza ane lab gyun di fizik dirwa ko sok di kujo jab degi yorwa kujo jaya dila yaga kujo jaya chikdang lab dila duwa kujo jaya nyi yore chada tanda nganzo chin lab saya di lab ki gyun yaga di yedire rwa yaga di susu sugu na le yondi susu sugu ki junga dhuzi pa nyam rwa ya dinde yungu yore chin lab ki nuba dire rwa chada chin lab saya di teba chigo la rwa teba yu na tilel haga teba yu na tilel haga nuba li go re teba mewe ina ko lab ki gyun di yowe ina di sugu na su le yondi 수국의 중앙념이야. 수국 중앙념은 심 펜도인 거요. 어디에 국수 당도 되게 진럽 뉴바질레서 텐. 국파 당도도 뉴바디 떡이 아니 수국난 게지 페마도 심기 페마도 걸도 봐. 전송 되는. 야고요 산선은 근데 상당도 나와.
And sometimes it's good to reflect in the following manner that when you breathe in on the inhalation, there is blessing there 100%. The fact that His Holiness the Dalai Lama has taught here in this building, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Chöden Rinpoche, a highly realized being that was quite well known in South India in the monasteries of Seradrapam and Gandham. He had achieved shamatha and was well known that he had clairvoyance. So that these holy beings have taught here, this place is blessed in that regard, blessed in the sense that the Dharma has been taught, the sutras have been taught, the Tantra has been taught, and those words have a sound, which is form, which has a wave or a vibration. And in this context, Buddha Dharma and modern science are in accord. They agree on that reality, the physics of it. Physics means that form changes, and form can change in a positive or negative way. In this case, the physics is having a positive effect. So if you don't have faith, just on the physical level, it can balance the elements in your body. But if you also have faith, then the waves of what's called blessing or waves of vibration are more. It's good to think like this sometimes.
수고에 다음에 대보차 선발에 따장마 차서 전이지 치고라.
Here, one has the conviction
이 언제
or belief
맥
that the
언제
body is in well-being and the mind is clear.
맥 언제 아 imagine only be cool 말 imagine cosa cool 음 다 드네 욱데스 통화로
Mm-hmm.
통화스는 격스데 안츠 당파나 시버치 니 시버를 참가점 다들 에 먼저 싸워 먹고도 네 당고 국진이 숨제버 살카시 시켜 데스켜셔 아니 한시나도 다뭐 사니마 다 공장이 규모 우연이돼서 다 뮤투제 그 가즈로로만 잡아시 배제 뉴슈제 지켜 안양틱 삼직샤 양 고조제 양 뉴슈 숨지 가즈로 지켜 잡아도 뿌다고 시켜 다 사바도는 지나서 장가 숨제 잘니 숨시켜 안 참샤 디스 카가 다양 심는 다음에 되는 거다 아니야 장가 숨제 살아가시 지켜 어두 시켜셔 아스라
So now we're going to count the cycles of breath. For this, you make sure your breaths are a little shorter or more shallow, quicker, we would say. And then you breathe in, you breathe out. First, you simply recognize those shorter breaths. And once you've settled into that recognition, you do 3 cycles of that, or 3 rounds of inhalation and exhalation. And you do, like, say, 3 of those cycles of 3. For those that are used to coming on Sunday, you can do up to 20 cycles, 30, whatever you're comfortable with. And then just observe mind.
다데 믹디 나부젤마 믹좀마데 믹다야디 kum시스네야고
In this stage, the eyes are slightly opened and focused on the bridge of the nose. It is better.
아야 다드네 양야 스탠다드 지난주 사바드스 야 장가 징이 숨싱아 마체와 살카시시죠 네 단다 곰다 주름 부자니도 있나 수수 장가야 가즈 자주도 잡다데 셈 데르다 국수 당파 좀 시시베던데 잡으면서 장가 잡지 돼 말더라.
So now those that are new, try and do 5 cycles of inhalation and exhalation and do a few of those, 1 or 2 of those 5. For others, just as you can, as you're comfortable with. Here, the importance is breath recognition, that you're breathing in and out. You're not just counting here.
뭐야다 당가 참샤. 아니 쌤디 당가 참샤 사오다가라. 아니 수수 쌤디 간데도 따다로. 쌤디 때지 시바 대화 창문을 주릉도마다 왜 시바 요래. 아니 디가는 쌤디 샤 돈을 빼야고 요래. 때도 유로. 데이터 샤 도구면도 나 하고 면도 나 싸워도 단단 다로 다 가르 구도 알아. 다 가래 그거요. 내가는 다들 뭐심 봐지. 다들 그러나가는 심샤지. 다 그러나 근데요. 시외에 돌아니 심데 대투나 야고요.
Now, leaving aside counting cycles, and upon that leaving, just observing how's mind, watching your mind. If you are used to that and you can observe its calm lucidity, just stay with that in present awareness. If you're new and that's difficult, then whatever sound you hear, recognize that sound, be cognition with it, and allow that to be your reference and stay in the present moment.
어야. 당조 제금제는 다 제금라도 단다. 소도 또 삼로 그래 수구대단디 다 컨디스테네 디고레 뭐 주주 샤 컴바나라 국가간 되는 리 야마 예제 되는 리 콤바제 비지도 콤바제 되는 삼다나 리 제금들라 삼로 가와다는 디고레 봐다 개지슈디 가르당 거래는 갑디 먼저 쇠바로 봤어 봐 제가 서버세디다 단다 저는 저 책딩 배배 책딩 해두네 야고랬어요 봤어요 공예 되고도 왔어요 봐 아니 서버데 단다 된대질라고도 있어요 그 미신다 그 소소라 지금 지 툭지 계좌 두자 쉐와 body language 담아다 덴바 아니 gossip 더 체와 아니 내주 담아다다 뭐 소셜 미디어다 팅자 내주 두자한테 담아다 코요인데 아니 심 마투고지냐고 스트레스 쓰고도스들와
Mhm.
어디 컨데스냐고도 써야 된다 계절리로 아니 되네 동에 강에 내가 지도 깔래도 내가 지도 텔레양데 남사이 지 강에지 태우다가 내가 디 샤야서는데 디야 동네체니 내가 디 야고요 내가 디 강에 파 세제 야 듄라 도야 그 상다야 다 토고 토모게 relationship도 저 다가로 강에 밀라 미되어져야 돼 치세나 레라오 페레 치마시나 페미시 칼레레 봐 가와이나 강에 전제 태우다 근데 치세벌로 당도 낭배춘 지금 랍자체 랍자나네 그래 삼시에스니 디식디 인지식라야 오지라 의문도 삼시라데야 디 페베직 삼시라데 인지식 딱다지 간데지 용이나 전다데 가rel라서는 삼시에서 미페저디 칼레카도도 베는 당예들로 오지 마시는 디그 말했어요 저 디체는 디그 말해 네 미디 칼레시 카도도 나 가두이나 코란게 칼라스 땅마스고도 차서고도 땅에 들러고 마시는 디그 말했어요 저 어디에 링든데 장고를 저도 상무당 그랬어.
So then this last type of meditation is reflective. So the body can be in any posture. You can just relax. You could be seated. You could be lying down. You could be walking along the beach. This type of reflective meditation can be done anywhere. We were looking at this word sepa, and it's good if we remember this word sepa and the meaning. And we connect that if others speak harshly to you, bully you, or blame you, or give you a hard time, or gossip about you, or if you hear bad news through social media, that you remain grounded, you don't get upset. And then the question is how to do that. Well, there are times at work when we go through difficulties. There are times at work when we suffer, but we should not give up straight away, but have this notion of being able to go through, to bear the difficulty, to handle it. And then if one knows how to do that with relationships, it is easier too, if you know how to handle or bear the problem. And in Tibetan, we have this word called samshi. I'm not sure about the English, but it seems to be an innate concern for others' welfare. So that if others are going through difficulty, you kind of have the thought, how can I not help them? You know, you can't bear to see them in that difficulty. So we need to study and train in that.
다디 먼저 능미래 조고조모래 내가 치세 지도는 디민도아 인사민도 디면에 강이 되고 왔다.
Yeah, and these days in family, with friends and society, that innate concern is often bereft. It's missing, isn't it? And we suffer as a result.
삼시민도 삼시.
Yeah, he loves us.
삼시면은
Mhm.
다 강이 돼 임버래. 봐. 그래서 삼시세야 되다 개심물에 샤스로.
Yeah, so without that kind of innate concern for others' welfare, problems come. So that's important.
다들 네 소바타 만나서 소바마다 삼로 땅인데 당보 아니 지강을 가르쳐외나 아니 삼발 흘려지 셔야 돼. 지난주에 five being a lizard become a lizard.
So now the point about cultivating tolerance is that, you know, when difficulties come, you have to have a kind of, I guess, relaxed mind. And that's kind of be calm, the first of those five.
그래서 약하시 수보 공라디 정말 좋은 기지 되고죠. 대 말이다. 수보세야디 수수세 맞고에 터네. 아니 배적에 미 불능체계나 대 제마요서 갑자기 봐자고라.
Yeah.
세베톤이 제거면이 저거 공司이 경계제 되니 되 거예요 말했지.
Now, some people misinterpret patience to think that you just take it, you take it like passively, like a doormat. That's not the meaning of forbearance. The point is that the mind doesn't get upset if someone comes at you, rather out of a position of love for that person, you don't get perturbed.
데 단다메 로종 나라 총거랑이 제가 신의 부사 데 냠네 테레다 데 로레 제메 네제 로그 누가 첨부 차서는 내가 데 지도 단당 아주 지도 말해 돼 경제.
Yes. So this comes from the mind training teachings where it says to take all loss and difficulties on oneself and to offer all profit and victory to others. But we can only really do that if we have a more kind of advanced stage of spiritual awareness. It's hard for us to do that now.
다데 먼저 단다 서버 고미야데 간상라 닝지다 자와데라 닝지다 교야 말했어야 데 개심부래다.
And so in this context then, where we are with our practice of tolerance is to be tolerant with the person, but with their negative actions, you can call that out. Yeah, you can stop the action, but you never give up on the person.
간상 닝지 간데스다고 그래. 들어봐. 라위나 다디 수수 냠뇽을 다냈다고 그래. 나는 상호 컨트롤 사녀여로. 그래서 매전날 컨트롤 사모니 미토뉴에 아니 제토마뇨.
How then do we cultivate compassionate attitude to someone? Well, we all have experience of that, in that we have been angry ourselves at someone, and I've yet to meet someone who's never been angry, right?
잠링나를 베제디 문에 워드고리 인질다.
If there's a person in this world who's never gotten angry, that would be like a world record.
딩문에 워드고래 문에래. 다 딩산시 직직직 잠빙닝이 잠디 가라 항사야래로. 콤바자니 당보레서 격쇼 당보레서 잠링나라. 잠링 다외 통제나라 통제가 당고인 다외 통제나게래나 가르쳐야래로. 가르쳐 빼셔 돌아래.
These days, world records seem to be around who can jump the furthest, these athletes and things, and then who can go to the moon first. What's the benefit of that?
Where's the money? Where's the time? Making more equal and making more angry. 어디로 제가 다디 이제 무슨 상황에서 콘도사뇨에서 디 상무단으로 당아디디 콘도 실사스서 봐.
Yeah.
대내갑들라 수수 콘도사디 수수 상무도 컨디션도 따다.
Yeah.
먼저 동의요. 맞지비요. 먼저 심단 맞지비죠. 봐. 맞지비되게 아니 툭제 아니 대용 거다. 안에 대용 거를 룩 보디 랭귀지 통용 거라. 동의지도 와서 동의디 연에 아니 마초와 체제 아니 다 콘도디 다 콘도를 주진 담만다요다. 이것은 이제 미 직수야로 내가 갈래 가야로 아니 가시 죽어도야로 봐. 가시 수수 나대 거기면서 숙청부이도요. 그 콘도레기도 알아.
Yeah.
왕가라서 단다 배나 러시아다 요그랜다오이나 초직라가 마가네 신다지 마자니 직벌에 직라가 마가오샤로 팔레스타인도 서로 초직라가 마가로 아니 직 수중원에 예와체인데 직라 당한데 동에도 되네려고도 되게 냠뇨저라 말하죠. 다 콘도스디 동해용 것도 최단 당연히 가라서 콘도라니 미디 콜라 동해요. 거이나 모이나 될라와 거이나래 모이나래 될라야네 미디나다 미디라야 동해요. 동해요자 아직 된 콘도디 통용 거래. 아직 상네 동해됐다 동해 텐데게 자와치 상담이나 미디라 닝지게 균전대도.
Yeah. Cultivating then compassion for the person that's getting angry. So coming back to ourselves, anger, you have that experience, right? When you kind of lost it, when your mind is suffering and upset and you're aware of that, and that affects the way you see, that affects your speech, that affects your body language, and we suffer as a result of that. As was mentioned, there are many causes and conditions behind anger, that you are struck by someone, that you are tired, you are hungry, but also recently this mind of like and don't like. You know, you choose sides, like a biased mind, and that can give rise to anger, like with Russia and Ukraine. You take sides there, or maybe in the Middle East, Palestine and so forth, you take sides there. So a mind that is constantly in strong bias, you know, like this, don't like that, attachment to this, aversion to that. What happens then is those are the cause and conditions for you to suffer, and you suffer out of that anger. So if you're aware of that in your own mind, when someone is angry at you, you can think, oh, they're going through difficulties, and out of a place of compassion and love from your side, you can have concern that the other person is overcome by their own anger and so forth.
아무도 믿을라 닝지 줌제 대상단 닝지 제투문도나 하라
Yeah,
줌제 대상단 닝지 제투문도나 나 줌제 신다지 상다요
yeah. So if that above reasoned approach does not help you having compassion for the other one, for the other, then you have to take another approach.
딜라 상로 갔다 와서나 영안도 수수 미직라 가와이나로 아니 미데 가와이나 아니 미데 동의유데 먼저 닝지 제기도 알람사로
Yeah.
아래 수수 가세 미질
Yep.
대투가 디 조금도 아거나 슝기 닝지 제용다로 가세들
Yeah. So for the one that we love, then, a close one, if they're going through suffering, we don't need to contrive concern for them. You don't even need to ask, it just comes, doesn't it? Your concern.
어떤 닝지 간대 제기도 줌제야야 셰브셔고
Now you have to ask yourself, how is that compassion for that one you love come? Why?
먼저 미데 가고라
Yeah,
당보디
because we liked them before, right? We desired them.
갈체는 가고래로
Why do we like them?
띵알 펜 만자다 펜시 토인자 가고다 만자 펜도 여바다 수수 송급치게요 수술라지 펜도지 유외 뭐다 유네 다 만자르다 다 자자자데 말에 이제 뭐서 유배다 펜도 여바지래다 뭐서 펜도 여바시는데 쉬우 가고도 하더라고
Yeah. And mostly we like that person because they benefited or helped you in some way and you want to protect that. And, you know, mostly, not all, but 100% mostly because they either helped you directly or indirectly, and then you like them.
다 당기 콘도사세 미디 수술을 펜도 채워디 시에나야고
But what you have to do now is recognize that the person that is getting angry towards you, you have to recognize how they benefit you. That's what you have to recognize.
다 펜도 가려요래 스티브이나
What's the benefit of someone that gets angry to you then?
당보딜라 서발라고도
What was our topic first? Being able to handle it, right? Patience.
콘들라니라서 공으로메시지
The
콘들라니서
person that
관계
gets angry at you, they're the best teacher, the best giver of opportunity to be patient you'll get.
아니 드네 딜라 닝지 제위는 수수주게 생기 연대지 앞에 야겔레용
And then in dependence on the person getting angry at you, if that gives birth to or increases your compassion, then what a benefit.
아니 치카레 롤리네스 용 말에 보링
Third point, you never get lonely, you're never bored,
미 콘들란 거라 디스타운다
because you're the
딜로
person to hang out with that gets you upset.
아예 제상다 펜도도 알아
Yeah, so there are benefits here.
펜토니들라다 가고라다
Yeah, and then if someone's benefited you, how can you not like them?
어디 델서보다 줌제 망고여다 줌제 망고 삼다여도 찍마시 삼롱고다여와
Yeah, so, you know, there's many reasoned approach. There are so many of that, 1, 2, and so forth.
같은데 줌제 가셔여다 드리메지 둔다지마 거나 녜시고
So that's probably it for this week. We'll go through the other reasons next week, if there's time.
배다 서버디 콜랑문에 야고 쉬우저다 네 준주난다 지당 낭배 표그 낭배 추디나네 윤제 거다 두즈 직다 동원이 거 된데네 서베 냠린 직조지 당아도 셈 치워서 그 탑란데 pyugyu nangden de lo jong ge ko de shewjire shinda la yuen na de lo la chulu shinda yi shu ka je ni ngana zo chulu shinda na la den de nyamle yin de da ke ma
Yeah.
mi lo go ra de ra
Yeah. So that practice of tolerance, forbearance, is highlighted in this text of Shantideva, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, training in the Bodhisattva's deeds. Because in Buddha Dharma in general, we talk about the law of causality, behavioral cause and effect. We talk about emptiness, the lack of intrinsic nature. We talk about patience and mental peace. And really, these are to tame the mind, to transform the mind. And they're also in other faiths as well. Like if you read things that are Christian that are good for you, practice them, adopt them. If you read things from other faiths that are good for you, adopt them as well. No harm.
a dine tende gonda ma nyega la ba de la ni ma zo yang ta je chi ta su su tirin don du do kar sho le ga ji su ma ji wa so mi ma ji wa so su su kan de kar che no ba sang san la ma xin xin che sang san de sam xin de jiang lang sho ne che ge ba nen de nen du shun jo le ga non du shun jo de le che ba che ni shak ba che ni chin je san ni mi chin ni be dom sim ge ro ni ya su su le ga gu long je re gom je re mi le pen do de che na 가오곰 안 하고도 수수 연 미드즈 지 야고든데 내가 야고 챙겨들 제수이란 곰로 들려 타도 단 딘신 마체시 제수이란 곰로 빼야 그랬어 제수이란 곰 아니 수수기 가오들 가오곰 근데 뭐면 야고 다 산인에 들려 하고 지기 텐제네 도세비나 니마지기 냠len 도르도버지 근데 도레로
Then in the context of one day's practice, then at the end of the day, one will check one's mind or check the day and think whether any mistakes made, did one upset others or oneself? And some of those things that we do are habitual. Some of them are conscious, some of them less so. Anyway, in the notion of those that you acknowledge, that you recall, be aware of it, and try not to do the same the next day. And then there is the notion of doing good things, particularly with regards to this notion of being aware of not upsetting others, particularly with those that are close to you, trying not to be jealous or compete with them, but rejoice in their good deeds as well. So rejoice in your own good things and those of others, and then try and do more good activities the next day.
Oh yeah, that the name around the
Right, so to dedicate, but take questions if there are.
You have question?
Yeah.
It seems anger comes up too quickly before one can bring on these perceptions, such as, not judging, the things that you said. In particular, I get angry at my kids when they're stupid, like drawing on the wall, cutting each other's hair, like just get the toilet cleaner. I'm shouting before I know it.
Okay.
How would you? I don't want to. What kind of practice could I do so that this doesn't come up and I can respond in a wise manner? I don't like getting angry, but it's too quick.
So the question is that anger comes up quickly, before one can think about or reflect on these countermeasures, like not judging, particularly with kids if they're behaving kind of stupidly, doing various things, drawing on the wall, cutting hair. So quickly I find myself getting irritated or shouting. So how does you deal with that when those are, how do you handle it when those things are triggered? Because anger comes too quickly. Kishla mola kongdo di chopu shivshile yamurwadi. When a pugu dang dempe, when a tampo ngamso zepo kam jabdu sumlo tamurwa. Chegum. Yenea kabriwara pugu denzo Chulam Dukchache, in a Sikpanang la remoti, Pinzun Traji Dup,
저도
Tradup. Then the Ken Ranga, the Lamsangi, Keshe, the Shukche,
네.
the Kapla Long Lang, the ship, Jobu Shivshiling, the Mayombe Kapla Tapshi, Yakshukar. Karsana, I don't like to be angry.
네.
Kamjo Gamonis.
네. We all don't like angry. I never met people I like angry. Something that we never met. 딜라다 계제 니도 셔나라 당보데 콘도 간저 콘도 조고 쉽지 사거들 규정에는 망고 친사래로 제산데 다나게 단다 부고 그 다도바다 리모트도 콘도지 사회 내가도 아니 차산유 이 콘도데 말레콘라 삼로 가르레게 메데 단다 곰자고 드드 콘도린 줘줘와
Yeah,
말 콘도 사진 바디 텔레 파름이 요래 자자자 파름이 요래
yeah,
아니 다 부고데 지고라 리모티비잔 다 빼도자래스로 아니 콘도 사라다 아니
yeah.
디 삼로 내지 줌진 삼로 내지 요르고 지고라 리모티비잔 다 빼도자 게 부고데 빼도자도스로 아니 부고데 따타바인자 빼도자래스 저랑 줌진 디 도자지스요라다 간다 저랑 원에 디 도자래 디 야고 마레스라라 아니 콘도 사 디디기 유림질라 콘도데 저랑 삼로데 조고 실레데 딱다 파른텍스 요르고 이들 다 친제로 네 냠뇽렌제로 냠뇽 디 칙도자 부고 콘도 칙도자 마 콘도 말레 콘라 가르가르 줌쟁 그 삼로 가르글리게 메데 마기 냠뇽데 마 비자다와나지 찍다 그래로 때문이다지 유린 델레도 아니 제메 주진데 레운디 두두네 까오르면 콘도 코란 사자는 까두고 말해 쇼 때콜레샤
Yes, often the anger comes quickly, but what has come before the anger are many causes and conditions. Secondly, like before those causes and conditions come to be, you do the steps that build up to the irritation in a meditation. So whether it be conditions like the kids writing on the wall or cutting each other's hair and so forth, because that's already the condition upon which you label that's a bad action. You've already labeled it negative and bad. Then it becomes like you already made up your mind. But there are steps prior to that, getting to that level. There are steps prior to that you can work with before you get to like an irritated stage and then a shouting stage. So from your experience, then you sit and you meditate and you look at the steps that lead up to that irritation and anger, like a movie. Like you're watching a movie and you go, okay, first step, second step, third step. And then you'll find that, if you find yourself in those situations, you're relaxed at that.
컨트롤 사는 거예요, 말이에요.
Yeah, because once the anger has come, you cannot stop it.
컨트롤
The anger already won. It's kind of like manifest.
주도 맞는 데 살아.
Just like
다 유진들 삼다에나 배나 저랑 그 부고 찍을 리모트 TV인사 다 컨트롤 살아. 아니 찍을 리모트는 가려라. 티 저랑 사제스 디 저나리 디 찍을 리모트 간도 슈간 리모트는 간도 가오시거라. 찍을 리모트 아니 그걸 보고야 돼 전부 찾아서는 안 지면 지고도 쳐사왔다는 뒤라 아니 가래 내 뒤쪽이죠 가래 릴렉스 되죠 진짜 타르 지겨 말이야 다 타서나 다 끼용 거 개미다 아니
yeah, one needs to kind of have a relaxed approach, because if you're too tight, it won't be good. So why the causes and conditions building up to the anger is that they're, for example, written on the wall. So we don't really like them to write on the wall. We prefer paper, but you can always ask them, why do you write on the wall? And on the other hand, that's okay, because you can always paint over it again. As you get older.
They become older And then they give job. This is your pen, you are
painted
young.
this.
Now you need pen, you know.
Yeah,
And that would get
Yeah, and if they cut each other's hair, it'll grow back.
Tell you one more thing to laugh at. Shit bombs, taking shit, putting it in socks, over the fence to the neighbor. Oh.
Yeah, she didn't do a lot of silly things. Don't worry. I remember when I was young. Maybe you remember you were young, you know? Yeah, you know. Yeah, she didn't do a lot. I think that she didn't, other things looks equal, you know. Children doesn't have this hour, this there looks equal. I think we need to understand. We have this our territory. Children doesn't have territories. Therefore, this same. We don't. When I was young, I don't know this never, this ours, you know. I never sometimes complained. Oh, we can't do that. Otherwise, we thought this is the same. Our those big families, you know. Children have some big mind. Maybe we can learn from children. Children have more ego. They're sharing never, you know. They're more open-minded. Well, I was young. I remember. We have 3 boys for my family. Poor. It's not easy. At good, I think. Need a little bit relaxed, don't too tight, you know. Doesn't matter, you know. It's all good cheating. Cheating learning, you know. And learning, it's life's learning. Do should is a down on it. Job do jar today, right? Military do jar as a Kumaguya, so Busse, so that doesn't elaborate, right? Does it do jar?
Yeah, that you have to be aware if the kids are doing things like abusing people or stealing from others or like killing insects. Those things you can.
Does it ya
Right,
would
then.
love? Shanda does it that camera? There's a pretty tangible.
They can write on the wall though. They can cut each other's
Oh,
hair.
lucky you have permission from Kishila. And the children loves it. Maybe you can say, you can draw more, they can't draw. Children mind is so tricky, you know. Exactly our maybe mind exactly same. Don't do that, do more. You can say, you 1 hour, this draw, you know, and they say, I don't want it. Our mind exactly same children, you know. This reaction, right? Oh yeah, that is shower. I'm che, on the turning on the Giosa. I'm che, what the culture land, somebody sitting ya. Chita, Uganda, Russia, Moru, Shia, no, Gormiman, Wajilang, Setonga, Zamulun Kurana, come take the raw. And that Modu, and that day. Coin, Modu, and the Joan news is some yard. And the Deneda, she catches things on that. And Zamulin Kuran, they stuck to the shadow. Zamulin meets him to the Namshi to the water. Yes, send down Namshi Doyer, and send the Shio. Haward chapsiwa politics and letter and me chukbodo the same na chambada zawa lena zamlin shide jogodora and haward me some me maran in me tulo maran tulo kalam and ganza zawa in cartel de vetunge mimo go lega mara vetunge de do lega maran lega daya on the day in the young show me jula daji ngarazo na yinchi ji gomja la tona zamlin mi same de chevi na Nima Dunda Chignan Zamuli Shidi Chavero. That's Pemisi, our Tunde Toniche, Sim Shidi, Sim York and the Dandan Tola, the open mount chair, Tonache. And that the Mutuje Kumshiso or as Rogomja, the Kumshisu, sometimes the Kumshisona. Lela Yomara Kumsing Yamba the Jotan, Nimachi Kale Susu Hago. Oh, that did the days not your destroyers. Oh, the day you had it, Tamalola. 먼저 개베자와디 내용 쇼 스멜만 요시죠. 내는 뭐 도마카시 되어와. 먼저 오면은 제일 계신 브레스.
Now we will dedicate the virtues we collected together to world peace, there is difficulties between Russia and Ukraine. May that be pacified. Under those conditions, people are suffering a lot. This world has difficulties. Then there are elemental difficulties, such as earthquakes and so forth. So, you know, and then may the leaders of the world generate loving kindness in their minds and peace. And also the wealthy beings have concern for each other. So, and then those conditions where people don't have medicines, may they have it, may they find food and clothes. And then the suffering of being separated from loved ones, may that end, and may people find work. So here, you know, a lot of the disturbances in the world happen because people's minds are upset, and that directly affects the weather. So may they calm their minds. And, you know, if all the beings in the world had interest like us in meditation, then we could find world peace pretty quickly in a day or two. So it's good that you have come here because you have an interest in meditation, an open mind. And what would be good is if you made that meditation a habit. To tame one's mind, to transform one's mind, that's not at all easy. But slowly, slowly, if you make a sustained approach, you might find one time that, oh, I've improved a bit. So I will dedicate the session to that end, and please pray likewise.
Sanandi danje zigwayi, gombando ji jinji dadene, kadana dan chibela. Chibe dole do sho, gewa di nyude ta, lama sanje tuchi, dowa chigyama. Di zala gwa wara sho, chande wadan chuji shawadan, jisi yuran guji so. Gewa jose dan yi jiso, tanje zobe shi yu chimbo, chanje simjo rambochi. Maje bana je yuji, gewa nyamba memba yang, kone gonde be wara sho, chuji gewa zongwe be, chuzi namba peba. Geji sema shio da tunje malu tsang